Hey everyone, Israel Kimman here, and on today's video we're going to be talking about different currency markets and what we're basically going to be doing for the rest of the week in regards to the trading market. If this is your first time here, my name's Israel, and on the channel we basically focus on one thing, and that's basically showing you how to make Forex profits. So you should be able to see my charts, you should be able to see me properly. Let's basically jump straight into the charts and let's pick up where we left off 2 days ago. So you should be able to see the pound against the dollar right now, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you like what we're talking about as well. It goes a long way in regards to the whole YouTube algorithm. So you should be able to see the pound against the dollar, and what's actually interesting is we basically, yesterday is my day off right now, so I didn't basically trade yesterday. So basically the last time we joined you live was basically on a live stream 2 days ago. That link should be in the description box. If not, you can go back on our channel and watch it after this stream. But it's really interesting what's basically happened since. So the first time I looked at the chart since 2 days ago was actually early this morning. And what I've actually noticed, going back to the weekend, for those of you who are joining me for the first time on the channel on a live stream, what we basically do is on the weekend is when we basically break down all of the things we're going to be doing on the charts. And as the week progresses, we basically try and take the opportunities based on what the market actually has to offer. So far this week, a lot of the currencies we were looking at, we thought the market was going to move down. And in pretty much, apart from the pound against the dollar early on in the week, pretty much most of the currencies have actually gone in the opposite direction. So I want to spend a part of this basically live session today talking about what to do, how to pivot. We've talked about this quite a bit this week, quite interestingly. And the example I've continued to bring up in regards to being nimble, being prepared, is the best-selling book, Who Moved My Cheese, which you can get in the description box for free with a free trial of Audible. Cancel the subscription, you still get the book, don't pay anything. Okay, that's a little good trade you can take right there. But the point of that book, the point I've been stressing this week is, don't be afraid to change your mindset. Don't be afraid to change the decisions you basically made. Okay, there's no like forceful measures on you to basically make a decision on the weekend, then basically stick with it all the way through if you change your mind, etc. So the fact of the matter is, I want to talk about what my mindset is on some of these currencies subsequently since what the market's actually been doing, and what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day, and obviously in tomorrow's trading as well. Now, another thing you should see as well is, I want to talk about something really important. I'll talk about that in a few moments as well. But let's look at the pound against the dollar and see, first and foremost, we can see here we're looking at a 15-minute time frame, right, of the pound against the dollar. So this was a currency we was talking about going short on. But the funniest thing about this particular currency here is, we basically said that there was a key area, a key level of interest, which you've probably been able to see so far, just briefly. But let me go to a higher time frame so you can see this better, basically. So going back to the start of the week, from the weekend session, again, it's in the description box for you to basically watch it after. This area right here was the level of significance, so we're basically saying this is where we need to see the market basically break through. And if price does not break through this particular region, then it was likely in most cases that price would basically try and go this way. And this is basically what it did. Now, I talked about this last week over and over again. I talked about it the week before in regards to, although the market may have a lot of momentum go in a particular direction, the fact of the matter is, okay, even though price may be pushing this way, it will still generally provide you with a good opportunity to basically get on a trade. And that's what it did earlier in the week. But subsequently, price has basically been pushing up. And I basically said previously in previous live streams this weekend, this week, basically, if price starts breaking a lot of these previous areas here, then it's going to make sense to basically start looking at going the opposite direction. So we're going to basically jump into the lower time frame again in a moment. Just give me 2 seconds, okay, to basically just make sure everything's working. Should be able to see my charts, everything. Okay, cool. All right, so let's look at the 15-minute chart. Or before that, let's look at the daily, okay, because we love to get the higher time frame context to see what we should be trying to do on an intraday basis, right? This is how we can basically get the kind of trades you talk about. So this is all off the back of what seemed to be initially a huge downwards momentum, right? And price obviously retraced, moved back, basically. Retraced just basically means price came back, right? And what this was looking at pretty much until the last couple of days was price was basically done buying back, okay, a lot of this selling momentum, and was just basically ready to continue down. That was my intention. That was what I was expecting the market to do. It hasn't actually done that subsequently. Price has continued to move up and hasn't necessarily found a top. Now, if you look at this, let's go to a 4 hour, or even before we do that, you can just look to the left quickly and you can see that where price is right now, okay, with this particular daily candle right here, as you can see, price is testing these particular areas right here, basically, which is really interesting. If price has already gone quite a bit of time, if price is going to do like a double top and then start dropping, then price may eventually now try and come back down to these levels. But as it stands, price is continuing to push up, showcasing to us that it's not ready to move lower yet. So I basically said to myself, looking at this going down now, let's look at a 4 hour chart so you can get a better view of this. Look at the 4 hour chart. Okay, we highlighted this area just a moment ago, talking about price had to break this. This was pretty much the 122.20 region. Price hasn't done that, and subsequently price isn't giving us the opportunity to basically get down to this particular region. So as it stands now, we've been able to see that yes, despite this particular trade, okay, which was a couple of days ago, which there was actually one potential opportunity initially, and you'll see that when we go down to the lower time frames, then there was a second potential opportunity. We'll show you those both in a second, basically. But subsequent, since that, price broke through the region, said no, you know what, this is a fake out, we're not going to basically go down, and it's basically now subsequently been pushing up. And price, giving you a better view here, is showing you that look, this previous price action that we're basically just looking at, okay, going back to these particular prices, going back to last week, 2 weeks ago, etc., 3 weeks ago, price is looking like it wants to break these particular regions. Okay, so if we just put a line on, do a loose one, I can draw straight. Okay, price, as you can see, is attempting the breakout as we basically speak right now, and this is significant for a number of reasons, because like I've said already, if price continues to break these regions, then it makes sense that now we have to start seriously considering buying positions. Now, although I already said this earlier in the week, if price, again, I'll say it again, if price doesn't break this region, then price might not be ready. Price will actually move up higher. Some of you that may be watching from the earlier in the week may have been saying, okay, cool, price didn't break. It provided an opportunity to move down. Now I'm looking for long positions. I'm not going to change that quickly, because I know a lot of the time, and I mentioned this previously in live streams earlier in the week, that sometimes the market basically will wait until the end of the week, today, tomorrow, basically, before it basically does what the overall long-term move is. You have to understand that we're coming off the back of a lot of volatility. This is a lot of momentum on the downside, right? So really and truly, even still to this point right now, all of this action still is minuscule in the bigger scheme of this whole move, right, from top to bottom. So it's only about 50-60% of the way in regards to a retracement. A retracement, for those of you who don't know, is basically price moving back against itself. So you look at all of this stuff and you say, okay, cool. We can't ignore the buying momentum, especially starting from early in the week, which we talked about again, about just the 122.20 region, which has proved to be very significant. This is why one of the things we talk about on the weekend, and we talk about this generally on a day-to-day basis when we're doing live streams, you have to understand that no matter what way you're going, okay, no matter what way the long-term momentum is going, even though we've got a lot of this, okay, momentum, it doesn't stop you, and it shouldn't stop you from ironing out key areas from basically looking this way and saying, okay, cool, where has price previously held a lot of the opposite momentum? We could see this right here. This is why on the weekend, go back and watch the last weekend's live stream after this live stream today. It's in the description box. I highlighted this area significantly and said, look, this has been a huge uptick. The last time price was in this region, the price skyrocketed up, okay, 200-300 pips, and it was pretty much in about a day, okay, if not less. So you think about it like this, you always have to be looking this way and saying, okay, cool, or I guess it might be actually this way on the screen, but you always have to be looking backwards and saying, okay, cool, where is the market potentially going to have like issues? Where is it going to potentially stop, or where is it going to start moving sideways or move against the key the long-term momentum. And when we're doing that, when we're doing these kind of things, this is how you don't get caught out in regard to these kind of situations, because it's so easy to get caught out in loads of these situations when you're thinking, okay, cool, yep, I'm just thinking about this, I'm just thinking about 114.90, 115 pretty much, and all of a sudden you're taking a trade, you're taking a self position down, and you're like, okay, cool, what's happening? And then price doesn't go the way it's going, and it basically turns around. This is why you have to be careful of those kind of things and actually be mindful of them. Okay, so let's look down, let's go lower and get some better context of what's actually been happening here. Let's look at the 15-minute. Okay, this 15-minute chart. Hey Benita Hodge, how you doing? All right, let's see. 15-minute. All right, cool. So this black area you can see here, this is basically the same area of price action we were just talking about. Okay, the 122 region, right? So notice this was the opportunity we talked about earlier in the week, and this was the other opportunity we talked about earlier in the week. Both opportunities going down to lower levels. Now, even if you got into this particular trade and didn't get filled somewhere down here, which is fine. Okay, I think I talked about this maybe on the last live stream. Even if the price came back, which happens sometimes, okay, price didn't top out over these higher areas before basically dropping and basically turning around. Okay, so it was a good opportunity early in the week to get potentially up to 100 pips, maybe 90 pips, okay, thereabouts, whatever, based on your entry. But after this, as we've kind of just explained from a higher time frame, you can see price did not accept that area. It basically rejected itself, and price has been subsequently pushing up. Okay, price pushed up initially. Price decided to pretty much range, and then basically yesterday, all price basically did is basically break out, okay, and go over and higher, basically, and try and push to higher levels, right? So as we continue, move over a little bit, you can see this even better. Price basically did the exact same thing, funny enough, which is funny, okay, but ultimately, look, what did I just do? I did a line up. Then what did I do? I did, look, price basically decided to bounce between these two regions. And then what did it basically do from early afternoon today so far? Basically broke out. So you can basically see that price is just basically moving now in an upwards trend. And price has continued to show us that, look, price does not want to, move down yet, okay? Now, one thing I'll say, which is the same thing we just talked about from the opposite side, the long-term momentum is all this way, okay? And over the last week and a bit, price is basically now trying to push this way. But the point I need you to understand is, like I just explained from a sell position, what you need to understand is this. Let me show you this, okay? We talked about it already. Let's go to 1 hour chart to basically show this. Let me do this first, in fact. Look to the left, right? Okay. For some of you, this will be the last line of defense. If price breaks through this, tomorrow you're likely going to be trying to buy. And this is a perfect place to segue and say, look, these trades, all these things we're talking about are my personal opinion. Okay, I'm not your financial advisor. You can't take this as financial advice. Go and seek your own financial advice, etc. Make your own decisions. When I make money, when I lose money, that's to me. When you make money, when you lose money, that's up to you. All right. So the fact of the matter is, you have to look to the left and see exactly what's going on. If price breaks, I'm at a point now where I'm saying, okay, cool. Price has moved significantly enough where it's looking more and more just like a formality. Okay, 124.77. Now, let's see, for example, this is what you need to be careful with now, because price is at a key level, right? The same way price was at a key level here. And I was basically saying from the weekend, again, it's in the description box, go and watch it after this live stream. If price does not break through this region, then I'm not going to be interested. If price now starts having issues at this particular region, then maybe continuing to buy may not be the smartest thing. But if price breaks through and does exactly what it did for the last 2 days pretty much, which is what? I just explained it, right? Push up, sideways, push up, sideways, push up, right? If price pushes up a bit more, moves sideways, it could go one of two ways. But what's likely to happen? generally, based on what's happening this week, is price is actually going to push up. Now you have to bear in mind, again, at the end of the week, stereotypically sometimes there's what we call profit taking. Generally, the market may move in a certain direction, but then it gets to a certain point where the market is basically just like, okay, cool, we've moved in a certain direction now. Let's just profit take. Let's take the profits we've made from earlier in the week. But there are people that have bought in these kind of regions at these kind of levels. Obviously, there's no candles here, so I'm just generally talking about these like kind of numbers: 122.50, 120, etc. And they want to basically close out their profits here later on, or maybe somewhere higher towards the end of the week. So just bear that in mind. Okay, but that's something to basically consider. But from my standpoint, I'm going to watch this particular area. It pretty much seems in a lot of ways like a formality, but let's wait and see. If price breaks through it by the end throughout today, throughout the rest of the day, and starts to consolidate, I'll potentially look at a potential long position to end the week and see what that does. If price basically kind of rejects this area, then maybe it might be a final opportunity in the week to basically get a sell position. But again, even though, like I said, you may have a bias one way, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you can switch and make decisions at any time. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Don't get caught up in just yesterday's profits, yesterday's analysis, because things can change really, really quickly. Okay. Now the fact of the matter is as well, we can see the 15-minute view right now. You can see what's basically happening in real time. Prices testing this level, not necessarily breaking through, which makes sense in a lot of ways, because going back to what we looked at previously, okay, we're looking at this area back here and we're saying, like we just did, and we're saying, okay, cool, this is a really significant area, this is a really significant sell-off point. So the fact of the matter is, if price is basically in a real like significant area, it's not expected to just blow through the area. Now, no one's saying that price can't just do that. Of course it can. And if price did that, then this would actually be the next kind of area of interest to me, where I'd be potentially saying, okay, cool, price is at 125. I'll potentially be looking at a long position on this. And the same way I was talking about sell positions in this particular region, going down to 122, will be the exact same thing, just the opposite way. Now I'd be looking at long positions going to the 126 particular region and seeing what price does at that region. And it's the same thing. No matter what way you're going, whether you're buying, okay, and moving up, or whether you're selling and moving down, you always want to continue to look left and try and make some smart, educated decisions about where you would be happy to trade to, and trying to get your take profits within those regions. But it has to make sense from a risk to reward perspective. If it doesn't make sense from that perspective, then there's pretty much no point in actually doing that. Okay, so let's go down again to a lower time frame and see something really important. Let's do this. Looked at the 15-minute. You can look at a lower time frame and see in real time what's actually going on here. Okay, this is a 3-minute chart, 3-minute time frame. So for example, if you were saying, look, I'm going to sell from this particular region, right? Because this is where price dropped from previously and long-term momentum is moving down. So this is an area where price potentially may move down. You can now be looking at how price has basically moved into this particular region, right? And you'll be saying, okay, cool, what do you want to see? Or okay, cool, price has came into the region. Okay, bear in mind it's a 3-minute time frame, and subsequently 2-3 times or 2 times later, price hasn't tried to get back up. Now, the way the markets particularly work, who knows what can happen? But we have got a key area. Likely, there's going to be a lot of sellers, okay, orders in this region. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what orders are, an order is basically, I think I explained this earlier in the week as well, but for those of you who are new, potentially joining with me today, an order is basically you just tell your broker, look, when price gets to 124.70, okay, 124.77, I want you to sell a certain amount, okay, on my behalf from my brokerage account. So from that perspective, there's going to be a lot of debt up here because of what we've explained previously in regards to the higher time frames, the 1-hour charts, the 4-hour charts, the daily charts, etc. But the fact of the matter is that isn't a guarantee for anything. That can get an initial back off, right? An initial move down, like we're basically seeing now. This isn't a surprise that price can go from 77 to 50. Price can bounce off, okay, 50 pips. By the end of the day, if there isn't huge sellers, if the sellers of interest, the people that can move the market with a sell position, if they're not invested in this scenario, then this will basically just be tested a few times. All of the selling activity will basically be wiped out, and then all of a sudden price will just carry on upwards as normal. Okay, so you have to understand that from a selling perspective as to what's basically going on in regards to buying and selling, etc. Okay, it all depends who is up here basically selling the market. If it's the people that we talk about selling the market in our free on-demand training, it's in the description box. You can watch it after the live session. It's on demand. You can watch it anytime. It's a free on-demand training where we basically break down how I actually trade the market right now and how we can basically time the market from a retail perspective, okay? Not from an insider perspective, like someone with insider information. I'm a retail trader. I trade my own money. You likely trade your own money. So from our vantage point, I talk about how we can do that and how we can actually get a leg up, etc. Okay, so it'll be interesting anyway to notice and see what's basically going on in regards to the markets, because at the end of the day, what do I always say? I've been saying this multiple times on the live streams. When price is basically doing the opposite, right now, what's price been doing? Pushing up, right? But obviously, what we've been seeing, you're always going to see opposing candles, 3-4 candles basically going the other way. Why? Because of profit taking. People are profit taking. Right now, is this just the next leg? What you need to start seeing, we've seen red candles. Now all of a sudden, when are the green candles basically going to start forming? Right now, we're 7 minutes into this candle from a fifth. Oh, it's actually no, it's a 3 minute. Excuse me. So where basically this candle should be about to finish in about a minute. And once we start seeing green candles, that may be a potential sign that price is going to push up. If we start seeing 1, 2, 3 different green candles together, that would actually might make a little bit of sense. But definitely where the price is right now is a really significant area, like I've kind of talked about. So this is the pound against the dollar. We'll keep an eye on it and basically see what price actually does. Let's go to the 15-minute again, just to give you a better view of that. But from my vantage point now, the likelihood is if price doesn't bounce from this region and actually breaks through tomorrow, depending on when price actually would break through this area, in fact, whether it be later today or tomorrow, I'll be looking for buy positions to wrap up the week. Okay, because at the end of the day, what you need to understand is, like I said at the start of the live stream, I want to talk a little bit about how to be nimble, how to reverse, how to switch. The reason I want to do that is because at the end of the day, you have to understand. Let's say, for example, like I've talked about for weeks, you want to generally go with the long-term momentum, because the likelihood is your trades are more likely to come to fruition, and a lot more quickly as well, by the way, because you've got a lot of velocity behind it. But the point is, if that's the only way you're going to trade, if price goes the opposite way, that means then in a lot of cases you're never going to be trading. Basically, you're not going to be in that position. So you have to understand that whatever the situation is, you have to be ready to maneuver. And that's why I recommend the book Who Moved My Cheese so much, and I've recommended it. It's in the description box and in the comment section so often for so many years. Okay, let's look at the euro. Let's look at the Aussie, or let's look at USD JPY. Now this is an interesting one for a lot of reasons. We're looking at a 15-minute. Let's go higher first and foremost, because this one for me, going back to earlier in the week, going back to the weekend live stream, I was pretty much convinced that price was going to continue in the upwards fashion. It didn't do that. Okay. Now the funniest thing, or maybe not so funny, but the interesting thing about this one is, let's move this over a little bit, what price has actually been doing. So we go back to the start of the week, and apart from early in the week where price basically pushed up, price has just said, you know what, like, no, we're not going any further. And all prices basically did is it's pretty much just been bouncing in between the range, pretty much. Not really the most activity when you look at it. We're talking about, let's see, 108. All right, we're talking about 108, 65, 64, right? And really, for the most part, for the last couple of days, 109. So really, when you think about that, what is that? That's like 35 pips, 35 to 40 pips. Now the fact of the matter is, for the kind of trades I take, that really isn't like really I don't want to say worthwhile. It's like, it's not really the best. It's not really the easiest. You basically want to have at least like double this. Generally, even like what we was talking about in regards to the pound against the dollar, where the opportunity, we're talking about 100 potential pips. Because like I said, even if you're taking a trade, if your stop take profit is in this particular region, you want your take if your end target, the key area where price is going to drop from, right? Like here, for example, where price dropped from last. If I'm taking a trade up into this particular region, I want my target to be here. I want it to be inside. I don't want the target to have to be somewhere higher because it makes it less likely to actually come into fruition. So far this week, the market has generally just been moving down to a certain degree. I guess you start from pretty much the 6th. And you look at where price has come, price has moved up, maybe just a tad, basically. I guess this little distance will be how much the market has actually moved up so far. Let me do that again, just like this little bit of distance, about 20-30 pips. But the fact of the matter is price has just been moving sideways. I thought this was going to be one of the main traded currencies for me this week, but no, it wasn't. I talked about in the last live stream, I had one trade, actually ended up in a scratch. I only found out this morning, even though I took the trade on a Tuesday. And I guess it's just looking at this overall now, it's like at the time it made sense. I don't regret the trading anyway, but the fact of the matter is price just didn't follow through. It pushed up. I believe my take profit was about here. Actually, no, I think it was definitely a bit lower than that. It was about pretty much here, and price didn't have that velocity to push through. And you can see subsequently what price has basically been doing, basically trying to bounce between these two regions. So if you're going to take these kind of opportunities, subsequently what it would look like is just buying the bottoms, buying the potential bottoms if there's an opportunity, selling the top. Okay, but again, when you go against the long-term momentum, the likelihood is it's less likely to pan out. It doesn't mean it's impossible. You can still find opportunities. Hence, you can see the price is ranging and is providing opportunities on either side. But really disappointed in regards to dollar yen this week because the volatility was just pretty much low and the price hasn't really been going anywhere. Again, you have to understand, this is why you just don't stick to one currency. I don't say, okay, you know what, coming into the week, you know what, the dollar yen is going to be the main thing, or it's going to be number 2 or number 3, and then I'm just trading it all week, like just smashing my head against a brick wall. No, I just say, you know what, okay, cool. If this doesn't make sense, if there's better opportunities than this, okay, if we're talking about stuff like cable, where there's 100, okay, potential pips, where it's very clear that basically the market is deciding to move up, right? When we look at a currency like this and we're saying, okay, cool, like the price is just basically moving sideways. Yes, you can make money up and down, but you want more volatility than this. Okay, so just think about it from that perspective. Let's look at an even lower time frame, just so you can see this in better detail. You can see that price, look, this is one way to look at charts and understand how much volatility there is. Look at this, okay? When you're looking at stuff like this, can you see what this is? This is 5 pip difference. When this is 5 pip difference, that shows you that the market isn't really moving. Generally, when you're looking at a chart, excuse me, you'll be looking at the same distance and you'll be looking at potentially 50, 60, 70 pips. Let me even give examples, but here we're looking at 109 to about 108.60, 40 pips. And it's not really doing that much activity. So let me show you this, for example. Let's go back to the pound against the dollar. Okay, what do we see? Notice what's happening as well, even though I didn't come back for this. We see 124.770. What do we see here? We see 124, which is 70 pips. But down here, where price was where? Don't make it, and like don't act like I'm saying even going back to yesterday. Look at this. What's the time here? Okay, 7:30. This was this morning. Move it over. Look at, can you see the difference? Look at where today started, right? The 9th. Look at this. The 9th, right? Price came up, pushed up. This is all the activity is done. Then pushed all the way down to 123.650, right? All the way down to here. Then what happened next? From 7 a.m. in the morning, we've gone from 7:30, we've gone from here all the way up from 123.60, 123.70, we've gone all the way up to 124.70. That's 100 pips. That's double the amount of movement than the USD JPY. So I just show you that to show you the context of just what it really should look like. And you see this is 10 pips all the way down the side, 10 pips, 10 pips, 10 pips, which is better. When you see stuff like 20 pips, you know it's even more significant because it means that there's even more activity in the market. Okay, let's keep going. What do I expect for the USD JPY, just to wrap this one up? Well, in all honesty, I've kind of just put it on the back burner, to be honest. You zoom out from the 15-minute, okay, you can even see the range isn't even in the most perfect fashion. Like, price bottomed out here yesterday early afternoon. Price actually broke lower. Going back to a couple of days ago, price was here. So it's like the market is just gone still, which is actually a bit crazy, to be honest, when you think about it. But there you go. Not impressed. Let's go to another time frame, another chart. If you've got any current charts you want me to look at, if I've got time, I'll try and get to those charts as well. This is the Aussie dollar, the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Okay. We're looking at a 15-minute chart right now. Let's see. So similar to the pound against the dollar in the fact it's done similar kind of activity, pushing up from earlier in the week. Hit an area. I remember talking about this, saying, is price going to drop from here? If I remember correctly, price did drop a little bit, okay, before sideways action and moving up. Then similar, like I talked about in the pound against the dollar, more sideways action, then moving up even more. Okay, so just like the pound against the dollar, both of these two currencies had the same mindset on both of them. My mindset was price has basically shot down very quickly, as you can see here. Okay, price has shot down very quickly to these lower areas. And what price has basically decided to do since is push back. It looked like this was potentially going to be the time where price is actually going to continue and try and go back down to these lower levels. Price hasn't done that. Price has basically continued to push up. But as price continues to push up, all you do is, okay, cool. Similar to the pound against the dollar, even more conclusively on this though, okay, cool. Now there's been enough buying activity. Most likely, if I was trading yesterday, if I was at the charts yesterday, I probably would have thought about it pretty much then. But obviously, I wasn't, so it doesn't really make a difference, really and truly now. Where there's no point dwelling in the past. It's about looking for a buy position and now looking this way. Then, okay, cool. Where can we see price basically trying to turn around, etc. This is a huge bit of selling momentum. So when you've got something like this, the next area can be far away. You start looking at somewhere like here, where price basically shot down quite significantly from, right? This is 65 round number. We're at 62.90 right now, so just basically we're at 63. So if price is at 63, okay, that's potentially 200 pips, right? 200 potential pips on the upside. So the Aussie dollar isn't likely to kind of go that far in like a day. So maybe by the end of the week, by the end of tomorrow, price is basically maybe somewhere near 64, maybe 63.50, something like that. So there's potentially price continues going up. Maybe one trade in this, maybe possibly two, potentially seeing what happens. But I remember earlier in the week, one of our subscribers, Jake, he was in there. He was talking about being long. We had opposing views. He was right, I guess, this week. So hopefully he was able to continue to make some money on this. But again, even more money, should I say? Because I know he talked about he made 50 pips. But that was obviously, I'm happy for him in that regard. So from my perspective, and that's a good lesson as well, and I said it to him as well at the end of the day, and I've said it in today's stream, for those of you watching live with me and for those of you on the replay, the fact of the matter is, these are all decisions you have to make. We may not agree all the time. No matter what the decision is, if I'm wrong and you're right, I have to live with that decision. You have to live with that decision. You're wrong and I'm right. I have to live with the decision. You have to live with the decision. This is trading. And when we're talking about like being retail traders, we're trading for ourselves, we're trading for our families in a lot of scenarios. So we can't just necessarily say, okay, cool, just because so and so said. You have to be fully convinced in your mind. Okay. And if you're fully convinced one way, you have to stick to that conviction unless the data just shows you something completely different. This goes back to the whole who moved my cheese. You're getting a lot of cheese in one area, like don't get caught up in that. Okay, that's why I can look at this and say, oh, price moved down this way. I think price is going to move down. But if price continues to show me that, look, no, you know what? No, it's not ready, then only a fool would continue to try and take those sell positions. It's about finding a buy position and basically jumping on the bandwagon, okay, and not basically getting caught up in this. But as price continues to move up, that's what I'm looking to do. And I guess without giving too many spoilers for the weekend video, anyway, I'll keep you guessing what I'm going to do in regards to next week. Okay, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But price, as you can see in a better view here, looking at the 4-hour, gradually moving up. So all this shows you is just these opportunities right here. That's all we have to start looking for. Okay, if we're going to get into this trade in a very like wise area, that's what we should be looking for. Just to get a better view of this, we should be looking for stuff like this, where price is basically selling off. If you're looking for a buy position, then consolidating, because this is between 8 and 12. Okay, 4 hours where this is lining itself up. Okay, and the same thing we've talked about over and over again. If we're looking for a buy position, when we see this from a buyer's perspective, what are we now looking for? Okay, where's the bottom? Where's the bottom? Where's the bottom? Once we are fully convinced we have a bottom, then we have to start saying, okay, cool, this is the potential bottom. So our stop loss, logically from a technical perspective, has to go below this region. It doesn't mean that if you try and put your stop loss somewhere here, that it's not going to pan out. It may, but just looking at the charts where people have sold off to, that makes the most sense, right? So we've got our stop loss. Now we want to talk about, okay, cool, can we get an entry? What candles are forming? What is the market showing us? Okay, when we start looking at all these kind of things, if we get an entry, maybe the entry's up here. That wouldn't be the best entry. Maybe the entry's here. That wouldn't be the best entry either. Maybe the entry's here as the market breaks up. That would be a better entry. Now we've potentially got our potential risk to reward, our risk. Does the reward pay dividends? Does it meet my criteria of 3 to 1 at least? Okay, 3 plus 3, okay, to 1. If it does, taking everything into consideration, what is this region right here? Is this 3 to 1? Is this 4 to 1? Is this 2 to 1? So if I have to get less than 3 to 1 in this region, that means now I have to bank on this price pushing up. If it's pushing up, where does it potentially have to push up to for me to get a potential return? These are things you have to factor in. So when you start looking at these things, let's put it on and basically see. We'd be saying, okay, cool. Okay, stop loss is here. Bear in mind this is an hour view, right? Okay. So look, this is 33 pips, right? As we look at it from a 1 hour perspective, and we'll go down to a lower time frame. What do we need? Well, I would need at least 99 pips. You can see right here, this is 97. So it will need to go higher. 99, right? 99's right here. And we look at that, look where that is. That was basically the tops of this particular push up. Okay, now we wouldn't know where that's going to be, but we'd have to be looking at it saying, okay, cool, this is the potential, the higher from previously. Now this is where price actually, where 3 to 1 is, right? So we'd be saying, cool, can we see price get into this high? If price basically pushes up, can we see price getting this much difference, basically. Okay, maybe you can, maybe you can't. You can see here that it took a few hours, okay, pretty much about 24 hours before price hit that region, which is fine. Okay, but generally now what you do is, let's take all of this off. We're going lower. Okay, and you can see this in more detail now. Okay, cool. We're looking at a 15, still looking at a 50. Well, going down lower to a 15 now, and I see it can, like, the stop loss seems it's in generally a good place. The entry, can it get a little bit better? Yes, it could, because we're looking at these candles here and we're saying, okay, cool. This was the same bottom that we saw last. Okay, and they're saying, okay, cool. What's price doing? So price is putting in higher lows, right? This is too much, but that where this arrow is, this arrow right here, that's a nice little candle sequence, stuff like that. Okay, now this, based on that, would be a little bit extreme. This is just from a 15-minute perspective. I bet you, let's even go down to a lower time frame like we did already and see what that looks like in even more detail, right? So let's do this. Zoom out. We can see, now look at all of this price action here. Now look at, this is that same bottom, right? But now look at what all of this, these were the two arrows we just pointed to a moment ago. Now look at all of this. Now look at all of the price action. Look at the same candle here, but also look at this piece of price action here. Okay, so you're seeing how intuitive it is to basically drop your levels on higher time frames, but then could go down to the lower time frames for entry. Because when we do this, as we've done multiple times over the last couple of weeks, when you start doing stuff like this, okay, and you move it down, what do we now have? Let's go to a 15-minute view. So this is just a lot easier. Excuse me. Zoom in. What do we now have? Now we've got from 33 to, what's that, 25, right? Do this. From 33 to 25.4. Yes. Supposed to be 99. Moved a little bit. Okay, 99 is there. Now you can see, and this is what you have to get good at doing. Now we've gone from 3 to 3.93, right? Now that could be an extra percentage or extra 2%, but also what that does is, which is also wise to do, now 3 becomes here. Now 3 to 1 risk to reward, 75 pips becomes here. And these are the things you have to factor in. Once you get these areas, that's what it looks like. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, you're looking to buy similar stuff here. Okay, price is buying, price is moving down, and we're looking at where's the bottom. Okay, where is the bottom? The bottom here, the price comes back. Is the bottom here? Maybe. Price comes back. No, it's 3 times, it's moving lower and lower and lower, not providing like stable sideways action of any sort. Then price pushes back up, sideways, sideways, sideways. Okay, but this is actually a better opportunity, much better. But this is what we need to look for. So when we're basically looking at these instruments, we're looking at what price is doing right now. Could you basically buy from up here and see price go up? Yes, you could. But that's not the best position to buy, because all of this area right here would be your profit potential. When price basically sells off wherever it's going to sell off to, what we do, okay, where's the bottom? Where's the bottom? Bottom here, is the bottom here. We look at what the price action is doing. Are we going to see some really good sideways action, giving us an opportunity to find a potential trade with low risk? Once we do that, now we start trading to higher levels, seeing if price can basically retest these particular highs from previous action, but also potentially break through if necessary, but hopefully not have to go too far in order to get us to profitability, etc. Okay, so this is the Aussie dollar. 24, 36 hours left to pretty much trade this, or about 30 hours in fact to potentially trade this. Let's see what happens. This is the Aussie. One thing I'll do lastly on this is, we talked about that kind of already anyway, just seeing where price would actually go to. So let's look at another chart now. Look at the Euro Yen. Now this one is an interesting one because I said in regards to the Euro Yen that I truly believed that this was going to be an interesting one. Why? If you go back to our weekend video, what I was basically saying is, there's a lot of lines on right now because we were basically doing, take this off. Okay. But what I was basically talking about at the start of the week, similar to the pound against the dollar, where I was saying price needs to break this region. Price, the move, so to speak, had been completed, right? Go back and watch our live stream. It's in the description box after this live stream, the 400 pip drop. And if you watch some of our previous live streams, we were talking about how we expected the market to go from the higher areas, okay, all the way down, right? Okay, from 121 all the way to 117, right? That's what we talked about in the previous live streams. Now, what price basically did, based on all of this long-term momentum, is what makes sense. I said, look, be careful. We need to see what happens this week. Price can basically decide to move sideways and do some price action. Price obviously could break through, but what did price do the last time price was basically in this region? Well, all you have to do is not even look back too far. You just look back to last month and you see price shot all the way back up. You go back to the time before that, which was October, okay, last year, 2019. What did it do? Price shot all the way back up. Okay. So subsequently, based on the last time before that, price pushed down and then came back. So price is basically in a range, which isn't a surprise that price can do what we call false breakouts, right? False breakout, where price basically acts like it's going to do opposite to what the range is actually doing, and then basically just come back in and go back down, right? So when you look at all of this stuff, I said this a couple of days ago, this is a waiting game for me until I see what basically happens. What's price basically been doing? Price is bouncing up, okay? So it looks more likely that buying for the rest of the week makes the most sense, because that's what price wants to try and do, right? We can see, I believe it was yesterday, price did try to sell off a little bit, but that's neither here nor there at the end of the day, because overall for the week price has been moving up. So let's look at 1 hour view and let's see exactly what this looks like. So this is all based off the, just like I said, the 117 region. Price said nope, going off, okay, sideways, bottomed out a second time. What did it do? Let's even look at this. Even before we do that anyway, price did bottom out and pushed up, right? Is it a surprise that it pushed up to these kind of regions? No. Is it a surprise that it decided to sell off in these particular regions? No, because that's what it did previously. Okay, and that's what you'll see habitually happen time and time again. It's about getting ahead of these things and saying, okay, cool, where is it going to be? And the fact of the matter is, price got back down. What did it do this time? Yeah, yesterday, bottom. It went back up to just these tops, where price has kind of topped out, similar to the USD/JPY, which this currency is synonymous with a lot of the time. And the difference is this currency is a lot more volatile. How do we know that? Well, look at this. We see 118, right, which is the bottom. Then we have 118.50 here, right, which is 50 pips. You can see here price jumped up higher than that, and even today price has jumped up nearly 80-90 pips. But there hasn't been as much volatility this week as previous weeks, but it's still something to consider nonetheless. Okay, but in regards to active direction and being more capable of taking a trade on this particular opportunity than other opportunity, and vice, etc. Okay, so let's go down to the lower time frame Look at a lower time frame, 15-minute, and you can see this in more detail. Let's zoom out a little bit first. Excuse me. And you can see how the same things we lined up previously. Price is bottoming, pushing up. Price sells all the way back into this region, bottom, bottom, bottom. Okay. Notice this. These are the things you have to become good at noticing in real time. And this is why I say to you, whatever way you're trading, start asking yourself the question: where's the bottom? Is this the bottom? Is price not trying to get any lower? Look at the velocity into here, right? Look at the velocity into here. That should tell you even more significantly, if price can move down this quickly in a matter of 15 minutes, right? This is one 15-minute candle. If price can do that in 15 minutes, and then, okay, 15 minutes later, it decides to do this, what does that tell you? That tells you there's buying activity here. When you couple that with the fact that last time it was here, it did that as well. It pushed off. What does that tell you? So we've got one, okay? We've got two. When we're seeing that price has been pushing off from this key historical level, right? What does that tell you? That's number three. When price comes back and does it again, that's number four. That's how you're building a case for why you should trade. Similar to what we just talked about on previous currency, right? Is this the bottom? Is this the bottom? Okay, is this the bottom? As you're looking at this stuff in real time, okay, cool. Let's say if I put a stop, if I'm going to take a trade and I'm basically going to have a potential stop loss in this particular region, would this make sense? That's the first question. Where would a likely target be? Well, let's look this way. Where's price been able to get to previously? Okay, price got to the round number 119, right? Okay, cool. So based on just intraday stuff, 119 looks like the highest I want to go. I don't really want to be putting a target up here, okay? If I'm expecting to get profits today. When you're doing all this stuff, you're saying, okay, cool. So this is 118. So this means, similar to the pound against the dollar, right? Where we was talking about like a 100-pip window to start the week. This is potentially 118 to 119. 100 pips, right? We want our target to be within. But if we're looking at these things and saying, okay, cool, price is selling off, but where's price stopping? One time, two time, there's tails. Okay, these tails are telling us something. Okay, tails are the little, the lines, the wicks as they call them, okay, on the end of the body, which is basically telling you that price hit that area but pushed back, basically. And all of these times these things are happening, you're looking, okay, cool, where's the entry? If my stop loss is down here, my entry is potentially up here, my target is potentially somewhere up here, does it make sense? These are the kind of things you have to keep doing on a daily basis. Just looking at these things, drawing these things up and saying, okay, cool, does it make sense? Okay. 22 pips. What do we need? We need at least 66, right? We're going to be doing 3 to 1 at least. Okay. Plus 3 to 1 at least. We need 66 at least. Where's 66? This is 66. Okay, cool. This looks good. Not only because we've got space, we've still got this space up here, right? From the high. We look to the left and we can see, okay, cool. This is just before this sell-off, which originated here, but price consolidated before selling off. When we look at all this stuff, we say, cool. It's good that it's lower than this, even if it's just a tad. But now what else do we do? This is looking at it from a bird's eye view. If we know where our potential stop loss is going to be, right? If we know where our potential target is going to be, right? At a maximum, we shouldn't be trying to go higher than this particular region. We've done that analysis. Okay, you know what? The risk to reward potentially makes sense. Now all we're looking for, where can I enter the market? Okay, where can I enter? Where can I enter the market? I want to enter and I'm looking for a position. I don't want to just buy in some crazy position. Okay, so where am I going to enter? This is where these other time frames come in and they can help you out. Let's look at even just a 5-minute view. And we look at this in more detail. Okay, cool. You can see here 117, 117.90. This is 117.85. Let's push this up just a little bit. Okay. And we're looking at this saying, does this make sense? It already makes sense anyway. You can already see it's 3.22, right? See that right here? 3.22. If this was 3.22 within this region, somewhere within here, right? Let's say, for example, 3.22 was here. This is where you can start thinking, okay, cool. Because 3 to 1 risk to reward is within the previous immediate, pretty much, not the immediate, but a key recent area. This is when you start ascertaining, okay, should I go for 4 to 1? Would it make sense for me to go to 4 to 1? The 4 to 1 is like here, for example. Could price break through? Like on a push through? Maybe. If 5 to 1 is up here, or based on 4 to 1 being hit there, obviously 5 to 1 wouldn't be there. But let's just say, for example, 4 to 1's here, for example, or here, and then 5 to 1's up here. Would it make sense? That means price has to go all the way to the top. Not that it can't do it. That's when you now take into consideration what currency am I trading? Well, I'm trading the euro yen, which is generally very volatile. But if it gets moving, it could actually get moving in short order. Okay, cool. That's a point in my favor. But then at the same time, I'm new to this. I've seen Israel talk about this stuff on a live stream for a few days now. Should I go for a bigger target than 3 to 1? That's a point not in your favor. Oh, but you know what? I just want to bank the profits. You know what? So maybe that's not a point not in my favor. You know what? Let me just try and go for 3 to 1, and you try and go to whatever region it is, etc. And you try and take the trade and just hope for the best. You never know what's going to happen at the end of the day, but fear can't be the reason that you don't enter the market. Okay, if you're fearful to that extreme, it must mean there's something going on that's messing everything up. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Let's go to a 15-minute view and see. So what we're going to be doing on this, the same thing we was talking about on the Aussie, same thing we was talking about on the pound against the dollar. Where's price going to drop to, wherever it is? Where's the bottom? Okay, where's the bottom going to be? And if price does something like this, where it gives you 1, 2, potentially 3 opportunities, okay, even some people would consider these. I wouldn't necessarily consider these. Basically, I'd think they're a bit too far away from these kind of areas, just a tad. Okay, these are the kind of things you'd be looking at, saying, okay, cool. Like, price is showing me. How many times do I need it to bounce near a similar area before I say, you know what, price is moving up, let me basically take a buy position? These are the kind of things you have to get good at doing. Okay, so we've talked about a couple of charts. We've gone for about an hour. I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up. If you liked what we talked about on today's live stream, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because if we live stream tomorrow, God willing, which we should be doing, you can get a notification letting you know exactly when we're basically going live. Thanks for tuning into today's live stream, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks and take care.